Okay, let's try this one on you. Tumba, 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 tumba el bloqueo. 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 Thank you guys. We're just standing on our mission today. It's to you all leave here knowing enough chance to lead your own Cuba Solidarity rally, wherever you're at. Before I introduce the next speakers, I just want to say something. So, I don't know if you all saw this, but a few minutes ago, there was a man who walked by who didn't have any shoes on, and he looked like he was sleeping rough on the streets. But he stopped, and he looked here, he read our signs, and he did this, right? He put his hand to his heart, he lifted his fist in solidarity, and he walked by, right? Because that is the spirit of Cuba, because people that are facing oppression, they know that Cuba stands for them, right? Cuba right now, they're facing a lot of tough times. People are having a hard time getting the food they need to eat because of the blockade. But people aren't homeless in Cuba. And it's hard to get the medicines you need because of the blockade. But everyone can get health care. Everyone can go to the hospital and without paying a dime, get the care that is available. And we don't have that here in the U.S. Another thing we don't have in the U.S. is free college, right? But Cuba does. Not just for their own citizens, but for people all over the world. Cuba sends doctors all over the world. Cuba also trains doctors from all over the world. They offer completely tuition-free scholarships to students from disadvantaged backgrounds who can't afford it to come study medicine there. From Palestine to Colombia to the United States. There are hundreds of doctors in the U.S. who have been trained by the Cuban medical system. And we are very honored to have with us today two people that just graduated from ELARS, which is a medical program, and I want to bring them up. Kelvin Rojas, Daniela Tovar, please. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you everybody for being here. So I graduated this year from medical school in Cuba, and all of that is thanks to IFCO, to the legacy of Fidel Castro, to the legacy of Reverend Lucius Walker, Gail Walker's father, for those that don't know, who was a trailblazer in terms of establishing solidarity between U.S. citizens and Cuba. And I just want to say, being that we were in Cuba for 6 years, studying medicine, we were in the hospitals, so we know firsthand what the cruelty and the lack of humanity of the blockade. We know what it is for people to be left without medicine, to be left without respirators, ventilators, any other equipment that may be needed to save their lives, because Cuba is on the state sponsors of terrorism list, because of the Helms-Burton Act. And what is the inhumanity of these policies is that Cuba cannot do business how any other country can do it to obtain these necessary materials, these necessary medications. And therefore, who in the end is it that suffers? Is the Cuban people.
That's right.
Yes.
So the U.S. government claims that they're doing this because they want to attack the government, right? They want Cuba to return to being capitalist. You know, as State Senator Jabari just mentioned, if that's the case, just let if socialism doesn't work, just let it be. And it'll fall, but they're scared because they know that it won't be that way.
Yeah.
Because we've seen firsthand the solidarity that is promoted in socialist Cuba. We know firsthand the humanity the warmth that you feel from the people because of the way that people are educated to value solidarity, to value humanity above all else. Here we're taught to value profit above all else.
That's right.
So I just want people to understand that because oftentimes people say, oh, like the people who support Cuba haven't been there, but most people here have been there. I have been there. I lived there for 6 years, and I know what it's like. I know all of the problems that Cuba has, but still I say, Viva Cuba! Because without Cuba, I wouldn't be where I am today. The 200 other U.S. graduates who went to medical school and are now doctors here in the U.S. can tell you the same thing.
Yeah, hi, my name is Daniela. I'm Colombian and I went to Cuba and I graduated recently as well. I just wanted to add that you don't know how powerful is the Cuban solidarity. Because if you haven't been there, you haven't seen it with your own eyes, you can't really imagine how it is. So just one example of this is when the COVID pandemic came and affected all over the world, everybody was freaking out. Nobody knew, like the governments were freaking out. Nobody knew how to handle this. The Cuba knew. And that was because they had a universal health system that was able to cover for all of its population. And thanks to that, and thanks to the Cuban scientific advances, they were able to create their own vaccine. They were able to give that vaccine to other countries, as Mexico and African countries. And I feel like that's something that is not mentioned enough because it's a huge accomplishment, thinking that they couldn't get even the syringes to apply the vaccines, but they did have the vaccine before, and all of these big companies had it. So that's just one example of how powerful solidarity and universal healthcare is. And I also want to take the opportunity to thank Cuba again from my heart, because like somebody like me, a woman from Colombia who couldn't afford going to medical school there, went there and graduated, and thanks to that, my community is gonna have a doctor that can go back to Colombia or work here in the United States or go where I'm needed. Maybe, who knows, Palestine, Africa, who knows? But thanks to Cuba and that seed that they put in my heart, I'm able to do it. So thanks Cuba, and thanks to all of the organizations today to have this ready. You don't know how much needed this is. Thank you.